Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very special episode in store for you today. Today's guest is Psychic Lady Jane, a gifted intuitive, musician, and spiritual medium with over 25 years experience helping people align with their true life path. Known for her compassionate energy and deeply accurate insights, Lady Jane connects with spirit to deliver messages of clarity, healing, and empowerment. Her work blends intuition, energy awareness, and soul-level guidance to help clients navigate life's biggest questions. And I'm honored to have her with us today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So to kick this episode off, I thought it would be cool to kind of tell the listeners about how we met. I think it was Memorial Day weekend. It's been about a month or three weeks ago, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so it was an interesting day that day. I've been doing Uber deliveries on the side and stuff to make a little extra money, and I just kind of felt like going to Santa Monica at first, right? And I was just driving on the freeway. There was so much traffic, and I just kept going down Pacific Coast Highway. And, this was the first time that it was actually open since the fires and all that. And I was just driving down the highway, looking at all the damage. And I was like getting emotional, like looking at all of it because, it was closed for the longest time. And I didn't even have like a plan on where I was going to go. I was going to do deliveries, but something just kept me, my intuition, I'm kind of intuitive, right? Something kept telling me to just keep going down the highway. And I just kept going until I felt like stopping. And I've grown up in Southern California my whole life, and I've never really explored Malibu. And I was just like, let me go explore Malibu. And something just drew me to that specific area. What's that little plaza called where the bookstore is located?
Well, that's at Cross Creek in Malibu.
Yeah. Yeah, so something I was just like, oh, I'll stop right here. And so I just pulled over. I was like, let me get a cup of coffee. And I'm just kind of people watching, walking around. And then I saw at the back over there, it said Malibu Shaman. And I was like, oh, like a metaphysical store. Like, no wonder why I was drawn to go there, And so I went inside and I started talking to the owner, this and that. And then he said, oh, there's a psychic here giving readings today. And I was like, oh, like I've never had a psychic reading before. Like, let me check that out. And then that's when I met you. And yeah, I really enjoyed the reading. Do you remember the reading, how it went or no?
Yes, I absolutely remember it.
Can you,
And on a note on that is that before I do readings at the shaman, I always send out a prayer and I say to the universe, bring to me whoever needs to see me today.
wow.
And I get a lot of stories. Like one woman was at Topanga and PCH, and she was going to go left to Santa Monica, and she goes, for some reason, I turned right,
Oh,
and I came up to Cross Creek, and I got out of my car, and then I saw the Malibu Shaman, then I came in. I never had a reading,
oh,
and
wow.
I get stories like that all the time where people are drawn to coming in because I'm there to give messages for people.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like I said, I walk in there and, you were sitting there at the table, you had your tarot deck and this and that. And you were pretty spot on. Like you were picking up about, my love life, essentially, like my past lovers. And I was getting mind blown, like how you knew these things. And you kind of gave me a message about what's to come in for my future. So we'll see, when that happens.
Yeah.
So, I guess to kind of keep things moving on, I'd like to ask you, like, where did you grow up and go to school and what was your early life like?
Well, I grew up in Canada, actually, in Alberta. And, I went to the Catholic school, which is the separate school up there. And I had a pretty normal childhood. My father's a very creative person. I mean, normal, relatively speaking. My mom is a school teacher. My father was also a university professor. So education was really emphasized. And we were offered any kind of lessons that we wanted, art, music. So I grew up with a real encouragement to explore the arts. And the psychic thing was never in there, but everything else was.
So how did the psychic thing come about?
Well, it came about very organically. I almost tripped into it. I just as a child, I was always very sensitive, and I was a bit of an introvert. I was very shy. I didn't like groups. I'd get upset if there was a lot of people around. And I always knew what people were feeling and thinking, but I didn't know that it was called psychic. I had no idea, but I remember as a child watching television, and there was a commercial on, and it was set in another country like Italy, and they had these cobblestone streets, and I was looking at it and I said, I know I've been there before. I know it. And I was like
Oh, wow.
old. And so I knew there was reincarnation before I even heard the word or even knew anything about it. I just knew it.
Wow, I love that. So yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely sounds like it kind of happened gradually for you instead of just like. So let me ask you this then. So your whole life, were you kind of like, trying to dismiss it? Like you kept saying like, oh, I don't have psychic gifts, like kind of trying to dismiss it, and it just kind of kept showing it to you, and then you had to pursue it.
No, it's more like the word psychic didn't exist in my world at all. So there was no, I'd never heard of a psychic. I didn't know what it was. So I wasn't, I just, to me, it was just like natural who I was. But and then I became very interested in the tarot cards, sort of abruptly out of the blue. Again, I've worked with tarot cards in other lifetimes. So in my late teens, early 20s is when I really started researching everything. And so what I did was I bought a bunch of books and tarot cards, and then I studied it, and then I started doing readings from there.
So you said that was in your late 20s,
Like early 20s,
early
yeah.
20s. What
Yeah.
about what about your teenage years? What were those years like?
Well, I wasn't doing anything psychic. I was very interested in mysticism. Like I was reading books like the Seth books. Do you know the Seth books?
Uh-uh.
Seth Speaks, it was a huge book, and I would read the Carlos Castaneda books. I was very interested in mysticism. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So what about, were there any mentors or spiritual guides that helped shape your path? So it sounds like those books. What about, was there any like in-person mentors or guides?
Well, I've had spiritual like meditation teachers, and when you study meditation, it's not really a study, it's a practice. But when you practice meditation, it does develop your psychic ability. It's like almost a guarantee that you're going to develop. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So I
So
have had different people along the way. Again, not to become a reader or to become psychic specifically, but it just kind of happened with the process.
yeah, yeah, I love that. I don't know if I'm psychic or not, but as I go along my journey, I'm similar to you. I was the only child, and kind of shy, and I always label myself as sensitive and around groups and all that. And I've had dreams that have become real, and I predicted the future a couple of times, and just different things. Like I feel like I just know things. Sometimes
Yeah.
I just know things, and I thought everyone was like that. Is everyone like that? Like I just know things, and I don't know how, like why.
Yeah, no, not everyone is like that. Some people have like no, or they really don't believe in it. They really push it away. So you are a natural psychic then. If you're having prophetic dreams that then happen, or you just know things, so you're naturally psychic then. Absolutely. And that's why you're drawn to it. Like you're interviewing all these psychics. You're
Yeah.
about
Uh,
it.
yeah. Okay. So what about like how would you describe what you do to someone who's new to like spirituality and psychic work?
Well, when I do a reading for someone, like at the shaman, we allow people to do mini readings, like 15-minute readings. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of tuning into that person's higher self or their guides because I believe that they've come to me because they have a message that needs to be given to them. And often it's somebody from the other side. Like if say somebody comes in and gets a reading and they're doing something that's not good for them, like someone from the other side will often like lecture them through me. Like I'll be like, this isn't me, this is your grandmother talking. Nope. And she'll be like, you need to stop doing this and you've got to start doing this. And it's very strong. Like I become a voice piece for an individual's guides and who are, the people that love them or the spirits that love them and are concerned about them. So,
Wow. Okay. Is that considered mediumship or is that still psychic? How would you describe that?
well, that is more, it's kind of the way I do it. It's like people just show up and then I can sort of hear them or I get this strong feeling of, it's almost like a video in my head, or I can feel them, and they'll be really showing me things like visually and like sensing it. So I don't even know if that's just strictly mediumship or psychic work, because to me it kind of blurs the lines a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like I'm doing a reading for someone, so I'm doing my reading for them, and then there's someone from the other side that's kind of like chattering at me. Literally, sometimes they'll sit on my head, chatter, 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 and depending on the personality, because everybody's personality is still the same on the other side. You are
Oh
who
yeah.
you.
All right. So what about, can you walk us through like a typical session? What that looks like?
Well, typically I get someone's name and their birth date. I like to know what sign they are. It kind of gives me a handle on them right away. Because I'm trying to, I want to tune into that person. And then I tune into them. And depending on how long of a session is, like for somebody that was just getting a reading for fun, they might not have any questions, for example. Some people come because they have some questions for me, like they have specific questions in mind. And so then I'll look say for example, if somebody doesn't have a question, they're just doing a 15-minute reading, I'll tune in and then I'll get a strong impression of something right off the bat. Like it could be a relationship, it could be their mother, it could be their school, like something will come to the forefront and that I'll focus on then. Um, but literally some people come in with their notepads and specific questions.
Awesome. I love that. So,
Yeah.
you know, what kind of transformation do you often see in clients, after they work with you?
Well, because the information is very real, it's almost piercingly real. If there's something that's been bothering them or they're kind of going down the wrong track with something, it kind of sets off the light bulb in their own head as to okay, what to do next. And the information can be, it's very varied. Like it just like everyone is varied. Like I never know what's going to happen, honestly. From reading to reading, it's very individually oriented. Like sometimes somebody will come in with a question, I want to know about my boyfriend, will we get married? And I will get anything but the answer to that question because they really are there for other reasons.
Uh,
So there's other information that I can provide for them that's actually more important at that time. And I find the tarot cards are funny because the tarot cards, you can ask it a straight up question and it doesn't always answer it for you. Most times it does. So when you're reading the cards, it'll give me a pretty clear indication of what the answer is to the question. But sometimes it just really won't answer the question.
huh.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah. That makes me actually want to ask a little bit more about tarot. I'm still like learning about it, and it's like, can you explain like how does it work? How does it work? Because to me, it always just seemed like it's just random cards. It's just random, right? But it's something more than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing for people to know, because most people don't know this, but the regular playing cards are derived from the tarot deck. So the tarot deck came first, and the tarot deck has four suits, ace through king, and then it has 22 additional cards. So the playing cards have four suits, ace through king. And so I can actually read a regular deck because, for example, in the regular playing cards, hearts represents cups in the tarot, which is love, matters of love. Diamonds represent pentacles, which is matters of money. Spades represent wands, which is matters of areas of difficulty or challenge. And swords represents what is it in the regular? I guess it's swords on both ends, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
yeah, so then the tarot cards are basically telling a story, and I
Yeah.
believe but it comes from a higher place. It's
Mm.
very interesting because you lay out the cards and it'll tell me something about somebody that they haven't shared with me. I can see something very specific. Like I might say, "Oh, it looks like you just went through a breakup." The cards will show me that. And then they kind of show what's coming up on the pathway people are going. I don't know if that is answering the question or not, but it's very specific. It seems random, but it's not. And I've also done readings where you reshuffle a few times and the same exact cards will come out
Wow.
three different times. Because,
Wow.
because there's something about our energy that's attracting the cards that are giving us the information that we need. It's the best way to
Wow.
describe it. It's there's an energy to it, and there's nothing negative about it. It gets a bad rep
Yeah.
in a lot of religions,
Yeah.
but it really it's a very positive deck, and I believe it was designed for us to have an ability to have a roadmap in life. you know
Wow.
like if there are, most of the times it does answer your question. So say you're kind of confused about something and then the cards will show you, like you'll say, should I take that trip to San Francisco this weekend? I'm not sure. And then the cards will show you the trip, but then it'll show problems on the trip. So it's like, and then you decide, I'm going to take that trip, and you go, and then you get a flat tire halfway through, and then you end up stuck in some town
Yeah.
for 8 hours or something. So it's kind of like that. It's like it'll kind of give you little messages, because the point is we always want things to be smooth. Not that it ever is, but
Yeah. So okay. So it sounds like you're saying that, yeah, definitely. these tarot cards get a bad rap. You know, people want to write it off. Oh, that's magic, or it's casting a spell, or this and that. Like, but it's you see it as a positive thing, and so that's interesting. I didn't know that. So you said that the playing cards, our modern day playing cards, were based off of tarot cards.
They are absolutely
Wow.
1000% derived from the tarot deck. 100%.
So where does the tarot deck originate? Do you know?
You know, the last time I looked into it, which was a while ago, like 20 years ago, there was no way to pinpoint where they actually originated from, because what happened was is that gypsies picked them up in Europe and spread them all over Europe. So they popped up at the same time in history in all these countries all over Europe. So so they at that time, and maybe there's been more research since the last time I looked, but at that point there was no way to tell exactly where it came from. My
Wow.
theory is it comes from Egypt via Atlantis, because
Ah.
the theory on Atlantis is that before it went down, there was a few boats that went out, and in 5 different directions. One of them landed in Egypt, and I personally believe that the tarot cards came from Atlantis. I'm not going to be able to prove it, but
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I love stories like that. So, all
uh,
right. So what has it been like working at the Malibu Shaman? How long have you been over there, and what other places or do you visit?
well, I've been at the Malibu Shaman since 2013. And prior to that, I was at another place for about 3 years called Atlantis, funnily, that was also in Malibu, but it closed down in 2001. So, and I was there for from 1998 to 2001. I was at the Psychic Eye way back in the day for 2 years. I actually started out in Venice Beach because I would bring a little table, and I was in transition from another job, and I just thought I'm just going to go down there and read tarot cards and see what happens. And I'd go down and people would come and get readings. So that was where I trained myself, like got my practice, because I just did it on a donation basis. I was just having fun with it. And then I found, I really can do this. So then I went from there, and I was young, I was in my 20s. I went from there to the Psychic Eye. Psychic Eye's been around forever. And so I was there for a couple of years, and then I left and went out on my own after that.
Wow. Okay. I actually just recently heard about the Psychic Eye from another person I interviewed on my podcast. Was that in L.A. or downtown L.A., Los Angeles, or was that in Venice?
It's there was at the time there was a store in Venice, and there was one in Woodland Hills, and there is a main one, and it's in Sherman Oaks on Ventura Boulevard. And that one
Mm,
not wavered, it's still there.
mm.
Yeah, I don't go in that store anymore for many reasons, because they kind of use both arts, and I'm not into the dark arts at all.
Oh.
Yeah, and whereas the Malibu Shaman just has a very light vibration there. It's just got good vibes there.
Oh.
We're
Wow. Okay.
we're selling our crystals and our books and our incense, and we're there for peace and positivity.
Wow. Is that something that you've kind of noticed along your journey? Like there's definitely some people that do the dark stuff, and there's people that focus on the light.
Yeah, yeah, and people who do the dark stuff aren't attracted to me. They don't come anywhere near me because I'm the polar opposite. I'm here to help.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay. So I'd like to ask you, so how would you describe, like, how do you connect with spirit? Are you clairvoyant, audient, or maybe a blend of different ones?
Yeah, I'm both. I'm clairaudient and clairvoyant. So clairaudient means that I'll hear something. I'll hear a name, and then clairvoyant means that I'll see things. Like it's almost like I said, like a little video that I'll see, or I'll maybe get like an R. I'll see an R really strongly, and then I might phonetically get a sound of a name that's similar to another name. Like sometimes it's hard to catch if it's a name I'm not familiar with. You'll get this, so you'll be kind of you'll get like a K, and it sounds like this, but it's not quite that, and then it turns out that it's Kevin or
Yeah,
something. Yeah. So it's a bit of a process, like of figuring it out.
yeah.
So I'm both. I definitely both.
Okay. I'd like to share a quick story with you. Something strange that kind of happened to me. It's maybe like a year ago. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was like my nephew. Are you familiar with Pokemon? Like,
I know of it. I'm not
yeah,
that familiar with.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it was just my nephew's young. He likes Pokemon, right? And so I sat him down at the table, and I was like, all right, like let's create our own Pokemon, right? And I started to just draw, and I was like trying to create my own Pokemon, right? And I was just drawing, and I came up with this name. It just came to me. It was Fortunato. like fortunate, like Fortunato, right? I had
Uh,
never heard that name before. It just came to me, right? And so,
right.
anyways, I showed my brother and my sister-in-law, like, we're like, oh, like, look at these Pokemon we made or whatever. And then my sister-in-law was like, Fortunato. She was like, my grandma died and her name was Fortunata.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
See, so you're channeling. You are channeling.
yeah, like, I don't know how to describe it. Or was it just a coincidence? Like, I don't know.
No, no,
Like,
that means that she's around.
wow.
Yeah, um, and so you're able to kind of break through the barrier and hear. So that tells me that you have mediumship ability.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Like, because that happened, and she was just like, wow, that was strange. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. So that'll probably continue happening for you.
Yeah. All right. So, what about how do you differentiate between your own thoughts and the intuitive downloads?
Yeah, it's definitely wrapped in together. So you can't always tell off the bat. Um, the one way I can differentiate is because, like I said, when somebody's giving a message, um, for somebody I'm doing a reading for, they come in really strongly. They come in really strongly, and I can like feel the personality. So then I definitely start to know that it's not my thoughts. Um,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, some people are pretty loud about it.
Yeah. So, and on that note, like, what's one of the most profound or loud or surprising readings that came through for you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's been so many of them, honestly. There's been so many of them. I'm trying to think of what would be like I couldn't say there's one that stands out over others. I really couldn't say that.
Yeah.
Because it's, everybody's they're given them some kind of a message that pertains to their life and something they need to know. And if they're coming in to see me, then somebody from the other side is dragging them in. I call it,
Ah.
but they're really bringing them in. Like their guides are bringing them in to see me for a specific message.
So I'd like to ask you on that note too, because I always hear about this concept of guides and spirit guides. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, do we all have guides? How many do we have? Or
Yeah, everybody has guides. It varies from person to person depending on many factors because there's so many people on the planet. And so the guides are there. Some of them are often their family members. Often grandmothers become guides. For some reason, I see it a lot, not always, but often a grandmother will pass on and they become a guide for their entire family. I see that a lot, actually. Uh,
okay.
Females a little bit more than males, but men will also. So often it's a family member, and it can be a family member that you've never met personally, but they are still your guardian angel. And sometimes it's literally like a guardian angel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we have guardian angels and spirit guides.
Right,
Okay.
right. And my cat's gonna jump on me in a second
Oh,
here. He likes readings a lot.
oh yeah.
Sorry.
Um. So what about, like, what would you say to someone who's never had a reading and is like a little skeptical or nervous?
Well, there's nothing to be nervous about because it's a very positive experience. The way I do it is extremely positive. It's about let's see where we can enhance an area of your life. And so often there's a concern that somebody has. Is this relationship going to work out? And sometimes people are barking up the wrong tree. They're trying to figure something out with someone, and I can look at it and go, it's not going to change. You've already been doing this for 5 years. You're not going to get what you want, but there will be someone else coming in. So it's really about, for me, when people come to see me, there's an area of their life that needs to shift. They're a little bit stuck. And so what I'm doing is kind of parting the waves for them so that they can move in a better direction. That's often what it is.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So.
And sometimes it's about reassurance. And often I work with people when they're going through a huge transition in their life. So I'm kind of
Mm,
helping, kind of like walking along that path with them,
yeah.
like a really
Yeah.
difficult time.
Yeah. That's interesting in the beginning how you said that there was someone like that at the Malibu Shaman that had a similar story to me. Like, just they were supposed to turn left and then they turned right, and that's very. I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah, it happens to me a lot. If someone will sit down and go, I don't know why I'm in Malibu today, and I've never had a reading. I don't know why I'm getting a reading, and I
Yeah.
saw your picture, so I'm just going to do it. And then something really profound happens in that moment because because they were being guided to come in, and so somebody from the other side successfully brought them in to deliver their message.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
It really is. I
Yeah.
find it amazing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm on a spiritual path. It's been pretty recent for me. It's like
Oh,
I had a lot of strange experiences that happened in my 20s. That could be a whole nother episode, but everything just led me towards this point. But it's been the past few years, and I could see why people are skeptical. I get it, like I kind of used to be skeptical too, but I think it's good to be open and just, try it out.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you're clearly, I feel very strongly that you had an Egyptian lifetime. It sounds like you're kind of attracted to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ancient Egypt, or do you find yourself attracted to it?
Oh yeah, ever since a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, so you in ancient Egypt, not so much now, but back in the day, ancient Egypt, they heavily practiced mysticism, heavily. Their whole culture was based around it. And so I feel that you were there and
Oh,
and you really enjoyed that lifetime. So then part of that lifetime you were literally practicing, like you were developing your skills that
oh
you have
wow.
naturally in this lifetime.
Yeah,
You know,
that's funny because my DJ name is Tunes from the Crypt, but
okay.
the I started making my own songs, my own music, and this was like 2 years ago. And the first song I made was called Mystic and Cryptic. It was like I was like, what do I name it? It was like, and I yeah that word mystic has always just like resonated with me, and I never really even knew what it meant, but now to me, how would you describe that word mystic?
Well, I definitely think you're a mystic. And by the way, I really like your name, Tunes from the Crypt, and the way you spelled it. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. Yeah. So a mystic is somebody who's recognizing that life isn't just the physical plane. It
Oh
isn't
yeah.
about, so they're aware that there's something else going on in life, and that's the mystical world, which lives parallel with the physical world. So they live parallel. So the mystic is, you're in a human body, and you have to brush your teeth, and you have to drive and all the basics, but you're aware of that world that's right there. It's right beside you. Like even the visual of your the background that you have, that's very mystical to me.
The sun.
Yeah, the sun,
Yeah.
the clouds, and the sky. So,
Uh-huh.
so a mystic is aware of the other worlds that are actually even greater than the physical world. If you talk to, according to physics, everything, nothing, like even a chair is in motion all the time. It's full of moving molecules, which is hard to. So as a mystic, you're aware of this other world, even though, but it's, you have to stay very grounded to be a
Uh-huh.
really good mystic. You have to stay really grounded, otherwise you'll literally float away. Um, Literally, yeah. But you are kind of wired to have certain experiences in your life,
Wow, that's
now
amazing.
spiritual experiences. Yeah, because that's more of who you are, because the soul journey goes through many lifetimes. So it's not just about this one lifetime, but this lifetime is the culmination of all your other lifetimes.
Yeah.
So you have all the gifts. It's kind of like graduating school
Oh.
and going to university, and you remember math and
Oh
grammar,
yeah.
remember everything because you went through grade 1 through 12. It's the same thing. Like you've already gone
Wow.
through grades 1 through 12 as a mystic. So you're just, for you, it seems really new, but you actually developed it in another lifetime.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, like ever since a kid, I like I said, an only child, so I spent a lot of time alone. I have half brothers and sisters, but I spent a lot of time alone, and I had friends growing up and this and that. But I remember just always being in nature and looking at the sun and looking at the moon, and sometimes I would look at the sky and I was like, it's not real to me. Like it's an illusion. Like there's more to this. And I remember it's like I would close my eyes and I would like look at the sun and I would like push on my eyeballs and I would like do these weird. It would give me these weird patterns and I would go within in my mind. I would get these weird visualizations. And then oddly enough, a couple years ago I took ayahuasca and that was like showed me a whole nother realm. And it was like no wonder. I maybe I did that in another lifetime or something. But it was just always just seeing this world as like an illusion. And then as I got older, I started learning about this concept of the Maya. I forget which civilization came up with the concept of the Maya. I think it was the Hindus, India, ancient India, and that this world, the mystics, yeah, that this world was an illusion, and they called it the Maya. And
Right.
so it was interesting enough. The first dog I ever got, I adopted her, and she already had a name. And what was her name?
Maya.
Maya. Yeah, that's it. Just reaffirmed it for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
what
I
about?
yeah, so for you every day you're going to be opening up another chapter, if you will.
Yeah. So what about for you? Are you aware of any of your previous lifetimes?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Definitely.
Which one? Which one? Or
Well, Egypt, I was definitely in Egypt,
ah,
mystic studies, and Atlantis. I have strong memories of Atlantis, and I believe I was there when the tarot cards were designed. I can't prove it,
ah,
but I believe
yeah,
I was there. I didn't design them, but somebody did because I've had that strong of a bond with the cards.
ah,
Like, the minute I found out about them, I embraced them, and just they made so much sense to me. So so Atlantis, Native American. I've definitely had a Native American
ah,
lifetime.
wow,
We all have several lifetimes. Celtic, I've had Celtic lifetime.
ah.
Yeah.
So I mean, has everyone had previous lifetimes that's incarnated currently? Has everyone had or are there certain people that are incarnated right now that are like new souls?
Well, I would say most beings have had more than one lifetime. Because if you're a brand new soul, it's like learning to walk. You're not very, like, you really don't have much going on. If you this is your first incarnation, you don't have much going on because you haven't learned anything from the other incarnations. So in my view, people have been here a few times, and the more advanced of a soul you are, the more lifetimes you've had.
Wow. What about what's your view on like? Would you say like do people? Sometimes we have animal lives, right? And like you can have like animal lives too and stuff, right? Or no?
But that I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
stay out of that one. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because I had a lady tell me that she remembered that she had a lifetime as a bug, and I was like, oh, okay.
That could be. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
all,
could be. Yeah. So what about so on that note, like have you had any experiences like along your spiritual journey that has really challenged your beliefs?
no. What do you mean by challenge my beliefs? Like,
Like where you didn't want to believe it, like like going down this path, like you didn't want to believe it, but it just like kind of kept showing it to you, and you're like, yeah, it's real.
hmm. Um, no, everything just always made sense to me the minute I saw it or heard about it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, it was more like opening a doorway, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go, another doorway.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, what about so on that note of like reincarnation and all that? Like, what's your view on it? Like, do we just do that forever, or like at some point do we stop incarnating? How does that whole thing work?
Well, again, it's very individual, very, very individual. So I think that some people evolve to a point where they stop wanting to incarnate because it's challenging. It's a challenge.
Yeah,
And there's other worlds out there you can incarnate onto. My understanding is with this earth plane, anyone can incarnate here. Like that's why you see sinners and saints here and serial killers and you know amazing, beautiful artists. Like you see the gamut here. Anybody can come here. And my understanding is there's other parts of the universe where you have to be at a certain level of evolution to get in there. So the bad
ah,
guys don't get to go. Here,
okay.
anybody can come. Oh my God. And it's right.
And
It's
that's
really,
why that's why there's so much madness here. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But beauty, incredible beauty too. It's
yeah,
really, it's a real yin and yang place.
yeah, yeah. It really is.
So
Um,
again, an individual thing. And it's same with like when somebody crosses over, the whole thing about ghosts, right? One of the things I do is I move ghosts on, or I'll remove them from somebody's home, and I work really hard to send them on, because a ghost is somebody who often is traumatized, or they did dastardly deeds. So they die and they're like, I don't want to go see my maker. I'm staying right here. I ain't going nowhere. And I've encountered ghosts like that. They're like, I am not leaving this earth plane. So then they stay stuck as a ghost. And so they're not neither here nor there. They didn't move forward, they didn't move onwards, but they're not in a human body anymore. And so it's really an individualized choice. Like when everybody gets to decide what it's very much up to you. You can do as many lifetimes as you want. You might want to be Mother Teresa and come in and help all the starving and poor every lifetime. Or you might say, you know what, I ain't going back to that place and go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, like once you really open your mind to all these possibilities and yeah, it's just that makes sense to me. It's so what I've heard too is like, okay, so like I'm not sure if you are aware of what happens when we die, like, but I've heard, yeah, it's like once you die, like your soul leaves your body and you see like a light and like you should go towards the light. And that, I guess that probably would be where you have your life review and things of that nature. And so I could see how when some of these ghosts or some of these people who have done bad things, they die and then they're just like they're too afraid to go face their judgment or whatever, so they stay stuck here. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, they kind of stay in spirit form, like they become bad spirits, because they actually aren't going to make it into heaven. And some spirits, if they did really bad things, they go into they. I do believe they go into a hell world. I really do.
Mm, yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the belief, like in Buddhism and Hinduism, is that when you die, and I believe this very strongly, you take who you are at that time and you go into the next place.
Yeah.
Not like you just suddenly become somebody else. You are who you are, and you've developed what you've developed or not.
Wow.
And some people digress in a lifetime, like they go backwards, they devolve. But the reason people come here is to evolve, like they're trying to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up. Like I saw a picture, a spiritual picture on social media, and it was saying something like that. It was saying like, a lot of people are praying for a better life in the next life. They're praying and hoping for a better life in the next life, when instead you should be focusing on having a good death. Because if you have a good death, like you said, that's kind of where where you end up at, and you'll reincarnate at that level.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you go exactly. You are who you are. You take who you are with you.
Wow. Okay. So what about like, we're kind of talking about, that it might be possible that I could have some intuitive, psychic potential. Do you believe everyone has these abilities, like to some degree, or no?
Well, I think everybody has the potential. Some people more than others. Some people are more attracted to it. Like for you, it's been natural. So I would say you're a natural psychic, and the more you become aware of it, the more you can develop it. And other people just are not interested. They don't believe in it. They're like, they're completely uninterested in it. So
Hmm.
I, but if you notice, like in situations like, for example, say a mother and their son goes to war or something, and then one day they just have this bad feeling, and then, they just know something happened to their son. Do they consider themselves psychic? No, not
Uh,
necessarily, but they're very bonded to that soul, their son, so then they feel what happens to them. So I believe that we all have the potential, and people that we're really close to, like you hear stories about somebody knowing that something happens to somebody that they care about very much, that they're very close to. They may not be able to do readings for other people, but they just knew what was going on with that one person because they're so close to them.
yeah, that makes sense. And it seems like, I'm open to getting your feedback on it, but it seems to me like women are more natural at this. They're more aware and more in tune with their intuition than men are, I think. Or what do you think?
Yeah, well, women operate from both sides of the brain more typically, whereas operate from one side men operate on one side and then they have to move to the other side.
Yeah.
But women operate from both sides at the same time. So women are more open, and I think the act of motherhood, you're naturally very bonded to your child, and I believe that
Mm.
natural psychic ability helps you protect your children.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes sense, especially back, you know, in ancient times. Living in nature and stuff. You got to watch out for anything that might jeopardize or harm your family and things of that nature. Um, so I'd like to ask you, so like, do you believe that certain energies or environments can interfere with your ability to read?
Um, maybe if I was in some horribly haunted house, I would say yes. But for the most part, no. But definitely different places you'll have that different vibrations to them, and it's easier to read it. And I write songs too, so I kind of they're almost like a download. So if I'm in a certain environment, a song will come to me really easily than in another environment.
Okay, what kind of environments help you create the song more easily?
Like in nature, and
Yeah,
not many people around or no one around really.
that's awesome. How long have you been a musician for?
Since I was 12, I first,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I was checking out your Instagram real quickly before this. And so, do you play the guitar and you sing? And
Yeah, yeah, and I write songs.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, cool. Any other instruments or just guitar?
I'm mainly a guitarist, yeah. I know
Awesome.
a couple songs on the piano, but I'm not really a pianist, and I can like hold a rhythm on a drum, like a hand
Okay,
djembe.
nice, nice. Yeah, that probably comes from the Native American life, possibly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what about, like, how do you take care of your own like energetic hygiene, after working with so many people? Do you have any like daily rituals or practices?
Well, it is good to cleanse your auric field. If if people have a bath and you throw some salts into the bath, that will clean your aura. Like it'll take everything off of your auric field. Because when you are doing readings or when I'm doing readings, you're definitely picking up people's energies. Even, they may not
Mm.
mean to drop them off, but they do. And so I definitely have to sage or use incense to clear my auric field, or water clears it very well, beautifully. Absolutely. Fire and water. Like I might light a candle and put a prayer in it to cleanse my auric field, but you definitely have to.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. The one thing that I've been doing lately is like I said, growing up, I was always sensitive and I guess I would feel people's energy and stuff. And, I went down a path of partying a lot. I drank a lot and I come to find that, in my party era, it was because I was sensitive to energy and it kind of helped me numb myself and stuff. And so now I've been sober for how long? It's been a little over 3 years. And the thing that I do now is I have to go out in nature and put my bare feet in the earth, put my bare feet in the ground. And it really helps me just release any stress or negative energy. I really feel it raise my energy. It's been a
Oh yeah.
game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Or they call it earthing. So the earth itself will remove energy, trees will remove energy. Nature is there to support us.
Oh yeah.
You can go and literally talk to a tree about your problems, and that tree will listen to you and help you, because again, they're in that mystical world. They have a physical presence, but they're pure. They come from pure spirit. So I know it
Yeah.
sounds funny, but they have a I believe they have a presence to them, trees.
Oh yeah, for
And so,
sure.
and it's a consciousness,
Oh
and
yeah.
it will help you. And there's also, like once I went to a wolf sanctuary, and they would take you on a walk with the wolves, and they tell you you can ask the wolves to help you with something, because the wolves are pure spirit beings, pure spirit.
Wow.
And they will help, even though we're so terrible to them, they will help us.
Wow. Okay, I love that. Yeah, when it comes to trees, it was like I said, growing up, I just always connected to nature, but I just never really paid attention to them. Like, oh, they're just trees, they're just plants. But definitely as I've gone along my journey, like I talk to the trees, I'll hug a tree, and I definitely see them as alive. Like I see like humans, like we're more conscious, but I think what do they describe it like? Plants and trees are more like sentient. Like they're alive, just in a different way.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah, very much so. And unfortunately, when people are sawing up trees, I can hear them scream.
Oh.
I get very distressed. You don't want to be around me when somebody's chopping down a tree, because I get very, very distressed, because I
Oh
can
wow.
feel the distress signal of the tree. And it's really stupid of us to take down trees anyway, because
Yeah.
we need them badly,
Yeah.
badly. So
Yeah.
we should just be leaving them alone, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I think, science has shown, that the trees communicate with each other, like with their roots and with
yeah,
the branches and everything. They communicate in their own way.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So as we kind of wrap it up here, I feel like we've talked about, I feel like psychics definitely have a unique lens on the world, so like with that said, I'd like to ask you, this is a big question here, but like, how would you sum up like reality, God, consciousness, and the meaning of life?
Oh boy, that's a simple little question. Well, I think the meaning of life is everybody is on an individual path, and they incarnate here because they're working on learning something. And they call this earth school, right? So we're all in school here, we're trying to learn. And some people come in with gifts that they want to share with people. So I think the meaning of life is very individual, meaning it's like the meaning of your life is very individual. And so that's why there's no just the meaning of life. I don't think it's too broad. And so we're really here. We're spirits in the material world, right? We really are. And the more in tune you become with that, then the more your life feels it has this smoothness to it. Because then you're not like blocking your own energy flow. You're embracing it. You're embracing it. And and we're all being guided. I'll give you an example. Like, um, you might be guided one night. It's like, you're driving home from somewhere, and you normally take a particular route, and you go, you know what, I'm not going to take that route this night. I'm going to go this other way I never go, but I'm just going to go that. And it turns out there was a car accident on that route. Like that's our guidance at work, helping us to it's like a navigational tool.
Yeah.
that guiding you into the best place where you need to be right now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that answer. I do that all the time too, where it's like I'm just driving and just driving, and it's like I'm supposed to get off at an exit or something, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't know. I kind of feel like going this way, and then like, for example, one time I was just driving, and then it was like, I went to this old music store, like, and I stopped there, and it was like something guided me there, and it was like they had these big signs outside, like, oh, massive closing sale, clearance, everything 75% off. And I was like, oh, no wonder why I went here, because I could go get my DJ I think I got some speakers or something for a discount.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always in effect with us. It keeps us from bad decisions, and it guides us to something like that sale where you bought something that you wouldn't have bought, that you needed, that you didn't even know you needed, but like,
Yeah.
here, get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your view on God?
My view on God. So I look at God as the creative force of the universe, like that which created us. That's how I see God. And then and you know what, a truly like satisfied person in life has I believe, an ongoing conversation with God, because God is speaking to us at all times. Like, we're always being guided and it ultimately is coming from God. And so I believe that that conversation is there. And to have a truly satisfying life, you really need to have that. And people that don't have that aren't as happy or
Oh
satisfied
yeah.
that do have it, because then your life is truly meaningful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. What about, do you believe that we are God, or we're a piece of God?
Yeah, we're all created by God, and we're all a manifestation of God. And so,
Yeah.
and I believe, when you take that on, then, I always say I work for God. So then that's my boss. It's like I
Yeah.
and so then you're always available to help people if they need some help. Like, you never know when somebody's going to need help, or some little animal is going to need to be rescued. And when you work for God, then you're available at all times, I believe,
Yeah.
to help out.
Yeah, I love that so much. Growing up, my father, he means well, but he had a rough life, and I would say he's more atheist or whatever. And so he would always bash the concept of religion and God and stuff. And I would hear him, but I was like, I'll just form my own opinion or whatever, but I could see why people don't believe in God, because his thing is like, I think some people are like, there's no man in the sky with a beard, like that's not what God is to me. God, it's like, I would like to tell people, like, you don't believe in God, like, look in the mirror, like, what created that? What created you? Like, God is the energy that created all of this, so that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I view it.
Yeah. Okay. So as we kind of wrap it up here, like, what's the vision for the future of your work?
Well, I've lately been focusing on music a lot. I've been doing a lot of recording, and I'm really focused on getting my music out there. And so for this work, I'm interested in doing more podcasts and working with people that way. I'm always available for individual readings. That's my favorite thing to do. Um, I haven't really done group readings. I don't know that I'd be good at it, but so I'm just going to keep going with this. I really enjoy what I do. I love talking to someone and kind of giving them a little adjustment. I love it. I love doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I love that, And so, as I like to ask all my guests, at the end of each episode, just, I know a lot of people are kind of struggling out there. So, could you send the listeners out there just like a final message of love and healing, especially for those that might be struggling right now?
Yeah, no, it's a very difficult time. Well, speaking of God, God loves everyone very much, and God is a benevolent force. And during these difficult times, if you're going through it, the more you turn to God, the more God can help you. Oh, here's another thing to know too, is that our spirit guides, we live in the land of free will, right? It's kind of said that you can do whatever you want here, and no one's allowed to interfere, or God's not allowed to interfere. So if you want, you can get help from the spirit world at any time. You just have to ask for it. That's what prayer is about, praying and asking for help, and you will get it. You will get it.
Awesome. I love that so much. I think that is great advice, because a lot of people are struggling, and it's like they don't know how, or, they don't know how to connect with the spirit side, So like, I see prayer is very powerful, like, just
There.
send it out there, ask for help. If you need help, ask for help, and I think then they'll try to help you, So some people are struggling, and they don't take action, they don't ask for help, and they're just kind of stuck. So thank you
Yeah,
for,
yeah. It's much worse if you don't ask for that help. If you don't,
yeah.
it's much more difficult to go through life.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jane, for meeting with me today and for
Yeah.
providing such great wisdom and insights on this episode. I also want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So, can you please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
So you can find me on psychic-ladyjane.com. Can
Awesome.
connect with me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.